Oh, hey everybody! Welcome to the AZ Snakepit Video Roundtable. It's episode 54. We have a five-person panel for the actual second time this week because sometimes you just don't care anymore. Actually, I do care a lot. And speaking of things we should care about, I should introduce the panel. That's Joe. That's Joe's cat. That's Emily. That's Liz. And that's Devin. You may know them as various online pseudonyms, but which one is which? We will never know. But
Spoiler alert, I'm Joe's cat.
mm.
Spoiler alert, I'm actually Liz.
See, I don't know who I am, so...
I am actually Foulpole. So anyway, let's get started. Now, a lot of things happen to the Diamondbacks in any given week, but what I'm going to lead the show off with is possibly the most important thing to ever happen in the franchise's history. And there were multiple eyewitnesses to this today, including one that is here in the roundtable at least, that the Diamondbacks had Star Wars Day today, which is fine, that's a thing. Everyone likes Star Wars, right? And then, but apparently they had a novelty pitch speed meter, which, that's fine, cool. But it said...
We should wait for Soko to get here because he has so much to say about this.
We'll get to...
And I thought he was going to cry.
We'll crescendo to his hot take on that. Because
Cry in a good way or a bad way? I wasn't sure.
Because he was like, this is wrong. It's not the right franchise. It's not the right place. If we were going to discuss this, we're going to have this. And I was just, they're going, I don't care. Oh, I thought that was funny. Okay.
What we are referring to, by the by, is apparently their novelty unit of measurement for the pitch speed was warp speed, which, as anyone who knows Star Wars at all knows, that is not a thing, Diamondbacks. Now, I'll throw my take out there. This is not the worst thing that's ever happened in human history. Top 100, at least.
I think they did make up for it, though, by having on the scoreboard, you know how they have they changed the faces for the first one to the lineup? They had Miguel Montero as an Ewok.
I saw that on TV.
Gerardo Parra was Yoda, and Cole Mentor was a Wookiee. It was beautiful.
I saw that Bert could not tell that Aaron Hill was Anakin from episode 2.
To be fair, I think that just shows a matter of good taste on Bert's part for not saying episode 2.
Fair point.
But yeah, that is unacceptable. And just when you think about it, the decision-making process that led to warp speed being a thing is not too different from the decision process that says, hey, let's trade for Mark Trumbo for 2 useful pieces. I'm just throwing that out there.
Well, I mean, what I would like to address about the warp speed hyperdrive issue is to your standard Star Wars fan, there's going to be a problem if you try to measure the speed of pitches compared to the speed of a hyperdrive, because, and I mean, I'm sure that most actual fans know this. Hyperdrive speeds, the faster they are, the lower the number is. If your hyperdrive if it's a 2 times hyperdrive, then it's far slower than a 0.5 hyperdrive. So I think that you're in a situation where if you try to use hyperdrive, you're going to either be confusing the casual fan, which I know none of us are, of course.
Of course.
I mean, Liz, I think she wrote her thesis on the psychology of the Jedi Order in the Rise of the Empire. So I think you have to decide if you're going to betray the casual fan or betray the hardcore fan, and perhaps they've stumbled greatly and just angered all of them.
Yeah. It doesn't
Go.
Okay, just in a scientific sense, if you say warp speed and it's like 87 miles an hour, well, that's not really warp speed at all. If just in the general concept, not the faux pas that ensued. So it's like, the Diamondbacks hate science is also what I'm saying here.
I think what really is truly the problem is that Tim tried to get a job with the Diamondbacks a few years ago and did not. And had he been working for the Diamondbacks, trust me, this would not have been an issue because he would have. Oh, and he's coming. We're talking about the warp speed issue. I know you're very.
Sweet Jesus.
You just said sweet Jesus. Yeah. They just needed to have one good fanboy. I mean, seriously, could there not be one guy in the entire... I mean, look at, like, Derek Hall. He's a giant nerd. I know he has at least seen those movies 35,000 times on his big screen TV.
I feel like Josh Colementer could have been their guy to tell them.
Also, good point.
Josh Colementer was at Phoenix Comic-Con this year.
Dressed in Star Wars garb. I don't remember
Yes.
what he was dressed as.
He was dressed as a Jedi Master. But I mean, honestly, I wonder if there is something deeper and more sinister to this mistake. Because yeah, you can look at Derek Hall. You see that guy's a huge nerd, but he's a little older. He comes from the age of nerd where it wasn't okay to really be a fan of both. It was Star Trek or Star Wars. Is it possible that there is a very strong anti-Star Wars bias in the front office of the Diamondbacks? And
Should we be concerned?
should we be concerned? And also, if there is, I don't know if I'd be going too far to imply that maybe that's why they didn't hire Tim.
It's a good point.
That's why we need to fire all of them.
Honestly, I'm with Joe here. Is that with this sort of thing, it's like it's sort of built. It's like the build-up is okay. You trade. It's like okay, you traded Trevor Bauer away. It is shaky. Justin Edmond, okay, fine. I'll still watch the team. Skaggs and Eaton, whatever. But that's like you have a really bad anti-Star Wars bias up to the roof. I've never felt more betrayed in my life. Well, no, but yes.
More betrayed now than you did when Anakin turned to the dark side?
More betrayed when you saw episode 1?
Also, is it entirely possible that we could now mentally go back and edit the Trevor Bauer trade to imagine Derek Hall screaming, "You were supposed to be the chosen one"?
That was never a mental edit. I feel like that probably actually happened.
Also, can we just get... Does this make somehow...
No. It would have been Justin Upton would have been the chosen one because they were sure Trevor Bauer was picked in the first round, yada yada yada, but he was not around really long enough for them to be like, oh, he's the future.
I feel like if anything ever happens to Goldie, we'll get that exact line out of Derek Hall's mouth.
Can I bring up another point?
I was going to bring up the same point, but you continue.
I have a problem with the game today. So during the opening crawl, which first of all was not accurate because I think it had like 5 paragraphs, they normally only have 3. And secondly, they always end with an ellipsis.
Those incompetent monsters.
So I have some problems with that. But secondly, the problem that I have is that in the crawl, they mention that it's Goldie
Juan Kenobi,
and Han Trumbo. But then when they were going through the lineup and they're showing the photos, they had Goldschmidt be Han Solo.
And it was a really bad edit.
And Trumbo was Obi-Wan. You can't even keep it straight, guys. Come on.
I will say that personally, if I were going to be assigning characters to the Diamondbacks players, first off, in my mind, Paul Goldschmidt would be neither Han Solo nor Obi-Wan Kenobi, because it seems like the blonde, humble farm boy who kind of comes out of nowhere.
He wants to be Luke Skywalker.
What?
He is not awful enough to be Luke
We don't know what he does in
You
his
know what? Paul Goldschmidt was
You
just
wanted
going
it.
to hang out with some friends and go to Toshi Station to get some power converters.
Sure.
I guess the only thing that I really, really do appreciate is the small amount of restraint they showed in not making Paul Goldschmidt into C-3PO.
Oh, you just made me sad. That would have been the best thing ever. Although, no, second best thing ever, because the best thing ever was when they had the little parade before the thing. There was this little kid dressed up as Yoda who was, like, seriously still in toddler age, so it was a toddler toddling around, like, with Yoda ears and stuff, and my heart grew through siestas that day.
I feel like the C-3PO of the franchise currently would probably be Bert.
Yeah. What was with the because we were at the game, so what was with the pre-roll? Did they actually have Bert and whatever is who I want to call Ernie, but he's not.
Bert and Ernie.
But did they actually have them dressed up as people, or did they have somebody else dressed up as it?
Bert was a stormtrooper and Bob was Chewbacca, I think.
Was it actually them? That's,
and was he actually Chewbacca, or was he just another Wookiee? Because if he was just another Wookiee, then we're getting a little specious.
Well, and it also raises questions. I mean, I think it's a dangerous pairing either way, because if he's Chewbacca, then Chewbacca probably should be shooting and trying to kill the stormtrooper.
No, wait a second. What if this is pre-Episode 4, and he is enslaved by the Empire, and Han Solo is about to bust him out?
See, that was what I was going to say. If he's just a standard Wookiee, or again, as you point out, a pre-rescue attempt, or pre-rescue Chewbacca, then it's kind of terrifying to consider, that one of our announcers is basically treated as slave by the other. Does this raise concerning questions about the interactions and dynamics between our announcing team?
Right.
You never know.
You're blowing my mind, dude.
Stormtrooper also is
Darren and Gracie did. They're both stormtroopers.
Stormtrooper might be appropriate if you take the Diamond Hacks view of the front office. Stormtrooper might be appropriate for Brenly. Or not for Brenly, for Bert. And then, he follows orders and shoots blindly and...
But the...
Kevin Towers Jar Jar?
Oh, yeah.
No, I don't think Kevin Towers is Jar Jar.
Wouldn't he be like Palpatine?
Eric Burns would be closer to Jar Jar.
Well, if I may counterpoint that Tim, to a point where he could be Jar Jar, I think we lost EG, whatever. There he is again. But if you remember in Episode 2, which if you've drank heavily to forget it, I don't blame you, but if you remember, Jar Jar sort of got pushed into a position of power, and he sort of made the big decision that sort of started to unravel the galaxy, or he helped push it. And that's a very Kevin Towers kind of thing, I think.
No, but see, Kevin Towers is a mastermind, so he can't be Jar Jar.
No, wait. I got it. Kevin Towers is George Lucas in the late 90s, early 2000s, where he makes shitty-ass decisions, he thinks they're good, he tries really hard, and he ruins everything.
I was going to go for Grandma.
Perfect.
But I think that's also appropriate.
I was going to say that Kevin Towers might be Senator Palpatine, which then might make Gibby into a very glowering sort of Jar Jar Binks.
Yeah.
He could be Palpatine in the sense that Palpatine always seemed to create his own weaknesses. He set up that whole... Let's give well, it wasn't completely his idea, but he went along with it to give the information to the Bothans that tragically died, so that way the rebels would know where to go for Death Star 2.
Death Star Boogaloo, I believe, is the official name.
Yeah. But thinking that he'd be able to set up a trap, but it backfired on him. And that seems like a very Kevin Towers move.
I still think he's George Lucas in the late 90s, early 2000s.
Making it up as he goes along.
Just screwing everything over and
And-
forcing me to sit through a lot of shit because my husband is a fanboy.
But there is. I'll throw this out. There is. I've heard a few places throw out something called phantom menace syndrome, which is like where you see something happens, and you really want to like it because it's based on a thing you really like, but even though you know in the back of your mind it's crap, and Kevin Towers has made a few trades where after you get over the little shock of it, maybe you try to talk yourself into, well, maybe it could work out, and then Martin Prado hits into all the double plays ever.
I was going to say that, I think personally, I'm sticking to the Kevin Towers Palpatine thing, that Kevin Towers was successful early on, but he continued to stick to really the tools that got him well known, but he wasn't applying them as well, i.e. trading for bullpen pitchers, oppressive treatment of alien species and the Jedi and super weapons and sluggers. But as he stuck to those traits, they weren't able to overcome his own poor decisions later on.
Yeah, I think that's accurate. So, yeah. I've got nothing more on that, but I guess you guys do. But I'll shift gears of the sort of topic, and you can continue to use Star Wars analogies because why the hell wouldn't you? But we'll look back on last week of Diamondbacks stuff. The Diamondbacks had 2 All-Stars in the All-Star game, Biggie and Goldie, which they all went over for the entire game. So that. So at least 2 players on a terrible team didn't decide home field advantage of the World Series. Just throwing that out there. But if you watch the All-Star game, what was your impressions of it? And the fewer times you can use the word Jeter, I'll give you $10.
Okay,
Take
I
away
was
my
gonna use
entire
it
answer.
once because I'm going to use the word once, but I swear to God, I was going to punch the next person who showed, looked at, or thought about Jeter. Every commercial, every person, it made me want to cry. But I liked watching the All-Star game because for the first time I got to really enjoy it. Hi Emily. Like with family, it was.
Is that cheesy in the background?
Yeah, it's cheesy. You haven't seen the poster. It's really cool.
Oh.
Anyways,
It's painting. It's an original painting that someone did for my roommate.
that's awesome.
Anyway, continue.
Okay, but it was fun, and it reminded me what it felt like to watch a game. Although Tim and I both figured out that it's really not fun to watch the All-Star game. I can say shitty. Okay, it's really shitty to watch the All-Star game in one way only. I couldn't root for the NL because rooting for the NL, it would be like, okay, I'm gonna root for the NL. I'm gonna root for the NL. Tulowitzki's up. Next up is Puig. Can't do this. Can't root for this team. It sucked so hard. I was rooting for the AL the entire time because I just had less people I wanted to murder.
Yeah, sounds about right.
Personally, and I will expect my $10 from you, Charlie, because I'm not going to use the name once. Personally, I always like watching.
Charlie.
Personally, I always like watching the All-Star game because it's almost like it's like a spring training game to me in that I watch it and I assume it has absolutely no relevance to anything at all. So I'm just watching to see a couple of players who I want to see who are going to be on the field for a few innings at most. And sometimes you get something that works out for you, like seeing Yasiel Puig go 0 for 3 after doing absolutely nothing in the home run derby the night before, which I just want to say, that home run derby, great work picking the National League squad there, Tulo, because really did a good job. What did we
I
have?
have-
was terrible.
We had like four players on the National League roster who combined for 4 home runs, if I remember right.
Just let Stanton go up every time.
And God, Frazier sort of backing his way into the final was like, ugh.
Even he kind of looked sad. Like, he would kind of walk up and you could just see in the back of his mind, like, this is so pathetic. Like, his highest score was 2.
Yeah.
When it was on, I left to go watch 24 at 8, and then when I saw the final score, I was just thinking, how did Todd Frazier get into the finals? And I saw, 1 in every round. Whoa, who cares?
And I guess in a way that is kind of the joy of the All-Star game to me, is being able to make fun of poor decisions that players I don't like have made. So,
Yeah. The best night of my life was when we got to watch the home run derby here, and it was Fielder. Fielder was the one who chose for the NL
And
that
Ricky
time.
Weeks managed to strike himself out on one of them.
Yeah, and Ricky Weeks sucked so hard, and like after that, like
He
sucked
missed one of
so
them,
bad.
too.
And the whole arena, even people who were in jerseys that weren't Diamondbacks were just screaming, Upton, Upton, because it was ridiculous. It was so ridiculous. It was awesome.
And now we boo him every time he comes here.
well, he was the chosen one.
As we should.
Because
And
he
now-
left us.
Oh wait, are we talking about booing Fielder or booing Upton? Because
Upton.
oh,
Remember, Upton didn't leave us. He was kicked out.
I know.
Yeah.
So bitter.
If we actually
As
had
my
to take time.
hashtag spree showed during the final vote.
Yeah, just enough.
I'm sorry that everyone had to see that for those couple of hours.
Spamming final votes for him on Twitter. I was at work then, so I kind of missed it. So good job, you. You timed it well. But, yeah, and now Prince Fielder is overpaid and injured for the worst team in the majors. And it's not the Diamondbacks, Brian Reichert. Who would have thought it at the beginning of the season?
My All-Star thing, I saw the first couple of innings, and then a friend of mine had tickets to the Mercury game, so I just went to that. I just see Brittany Griner dunk.
Yay, Mercury! My
Good.
family's had season tickets for them since the day that thing opened.
They're fun.
I think you might be the only one.
No, because my neighbor, the people next to us have been there too, and I got to experience the weirdest thing about it, like watching a lesbian relationship go up and then down and then come back up again. Because they had it together and then they broke up, and then they got back together and then they broke up and then they got back together and now they're back together and married.
Oh, yay!
Yeah, it's a happy ending in the long run, but it was just really weird when it started out when I was 12 or 13. Shut your face. Anyways, yeah, I love the Mercury, mighty Mercury,
I
and
guess
it's nice to have a team that's good.
yeah, an Arizona-based team that's good and could actually do stuff. Unless you count like arena football, but who does? I don't. Why should you? Don't.
Well, no one counts the
I-
WNBA.
Arena football is better than college football in this state, and that's just a burn on most of you.
Shut your freaking.
I'm not
Face.
going to deny that Arizona State is pretty much poop from the butt awful 90% of the time.
But we're slightly less awful than other teams.
It's true. We've actually been
Like
to the
NAU, you
and
can
we've
never
won.
be as bad as NAU's football team.
Yeah, that's true.
Oh, could I?
No, NAU has been to as many Rose Bowls as U of A.
And they once had a really pretty guy who had glitter.
I'm out!
You know, you were so not out. So come on.
NAU's also been to as many Final Fours as Arizona State, so you know.
Yeah, but the thing is that I don't really think the Arizona State teams are really all that, and you're not going to see me going on Twitter on and on and on about how great my teams are.
We're gonna have a
So
fight
I
about
don't
it.
give a shit.
Well, at least the universities we're talking about right now, we actually attended at some point. I'm not naming names, but yeah. Boom.
Boom.
We have to retire that one though because he's going in the fall.
Oh crap! Really?
Yeah.
Ugh. Anyway, All-Star
You
game
can
thoughts.
still use it until he graduates from
The
it.
dream is over.
Hey now. Anyway, All-Star game. I swear to God, I'll pistol whip the next person who says Jeter.
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 Hey, what's the name of that shortstop who has terrible range and is really on
Hey guys! I forgot we need to talk about something really important.
Jeter.
Wait, no, we have to talk about something really important that I know that we haven't talked about yet on the podcast.
Is it Star Wars?
It's Star Wars, but it's also, did you know that there's a Yankee that's retiring this season? Anyone?
Which one?
It's Wait, hold on. I'll look it up.
I'm drawing a blank.
No one's been talking about it. That's astounding. It's just nowhere on the internet. I've never.
Enough people to talk about Andre.
God.
It is no
See?
one.
That's what I was going to say. I don't know because I don't care about players who aren't Andre Ethier. Because, did you know he went to ASU?
Willie Bloomquist went to ASU.
Did he know Willie
Did he
Bloomquist?
know Andre Ethier?
I don't know. He might have known Jason Kipnis, Tuffy Gossowich, Barry Bonds.
Dustin Pedroia.
This is going to be 103 players.
I know who's retiring for the Yankees. It's Yangervis Solarte.
I know. It's like no one's
So weird.
talking about
So
it.
weird. He's only 26.
Yeah.
That's sad.
Him though that he's moving on.
Yeah.
Wait, is there a really sad story behind why he's retiring at 26? Because I'm not emotionally prepared for this.
Cedar Valley fever.
Oh, this is like Connor Jackson.
I'm going to say for purposes of slander law, whatever it may be between Arizona and New York, he's not actually retiring. I was actually looking up a random Yankees player on Baseball Reference to say he's retiring rather than the other person. Legal disclaimer over.
Because if he actually had valley fever, I'd be really depressed for him.
Actually, as long as we're potentially slandering East Coast cities, can I just ask a really brief question to everyone?
Yes.
Okay, I'm asking this for my little sister because she says she's going to boycott the Roundtable until we discuss it, even though I'm not entirely convinced she's ever watched it.
Hi, Colleen.
Would anybody like to discuss their favorite cheesesteak they've ever had?
Oh, wait, where was it when we used to get really good cheesesteaks?
I mean, they were okay with Corleones.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
That's
okay.
sad.
Why?
Why? Because she
never
likes
met-
Philly cheesesteaks?
I've never been to Philly, so
Me either.
Yeah, I've never been to Philadelphia either, so most of what I know about the town is based
Bad.
off of the theme song of Fresh Prince of Bel-Air.
Well, what does she want us to talk about beyond cheesesteaks?
Oh no, it was just the exact question was, to quote it here, it's hold on just a second. Tell me about the best cheesesteak you've had.
Well, sadly, it's at this place called Corleone's, which I don't know if it's still open or not, but it was really good. What?
The one on Mill?
No, the one we went to is up by our house. But it was very confusing because it was Rocky themed. No, it was.
No. Okay, so this doesn't make any sense to me. Like the Star Wars thing, the warp drive thing. Corleone's, obviously named after the lead family in the Godfather series, which is set in New York City and partially at Las Vegas, but we won't talk about that. It's mainly set in New York.
Nobody talks about Las Vegas.
But
Yeah, because only
this
bad
is-
people go
But
there.
this is a Philly-themed restaurant. They have tasty cakes. They have Philly's gear on the wall. They sell cheesesteaks.
And they're constantly playing Rocky.
No, you're mixing up with Yo Polly's.
I'm thinking about Yo Polly's. Okay, well, Yo Polly's was good.
Is a New York-style pizzeria down the street from us. New York-style. That's what they call themselves. But they have all kinds of Rocky memorabilia, which is set in Philly. It's like these two completely mixed up their concepts.
Is Colleen watching?
It's
Hi.
a pretty mixed up world we live in. She's probably not, but I'll make sure she goes back and watches this later.
Okay.
There's a place by where I live called Luke's. I've had cheesesteak there. But I've not been privy to a lot of cheesesteaks in my life. which I don't know if that's really my problem or society or the yeah. And Emily had to leave, so thank her for coming on.
I think the guy right behind us has a question.
Yes, you on the Diamondback shirt.
Yes. Here's a side question, I suppose, about cheesesteaks. Because some people are very particular about what kind of cheese they want on it. You know, whether it's going to be Cheese Whiz or provolone or whatever it is. So, what kind of cheese do we like on our cheesesteak?
I'm all class, so Cheese Whiz.
Cheese Whiz.
This is a conversation I've seen people have before, and I'm constantly mystified by how people will claim that Cheese Whiz is the more authentic cheese to go with. I personally prefer provolone. Personally, best cheesesteak I've ever had, probably at a place in Peoria that was right near my old apartment. But I've never understood why people see Cheese Whiz as the more authentic choice, given that cheesesteaks predate Cheese Whiz. So it's obvious
it's delicious and nutritious and amazing.
Okay, at least 1, 2, 3 of those words are lies. So, I mean, obviously the original cheesesteaks didn't have Cheese Whiz. Why is it suddenly that people think a later change to it became more authentic?
Probably because we live in America.
And things change over time.
And we live in America. And Cheese Whiz is easier and more fat-filled and has no nutritional value.
But see, actual cheese is better in my mind just because of the way that it melts and it gets stringy, as opposed to Cheese Whiz, which is possibly teleported in from another dimension that is close to but not quite like cheese.
And that's amazing.
That's the American way.
Agreed.
Yeah, Joe, you have any hot cheesesteak takes before we move on to...
You make it sound like you want him to talk about porn cheesesteak.
I got nothing, sorry.
No, that's fine.
I can't top it.
Well, yeah. I'll go through the thread here. This is from somebody here's sister. Do you guys really think that the Dodgers almost always, at most times, all times, have Fresh Prince episodes playing in their clubhouse? I actually think they have something, like, terrible, like, really terrible, like, God, I don't know, 2.5 Men playing at all times.
I think actually I think it would be much better if they had those episodes playing all of the time. As it is, I imagine they just have like a constant stream of Entourage episodes, but muted.
I do think that Yasiel Puig has that theme song stuck in his head all the time, though, because he is like swagging like he has it. But no, I don't think that they would play the awesomeness of that show.
They probably don't play anything in the clubhouse.
You know what they play at the clubhouse? Them peeing in our freaking pool. Sorry.
Maybe there's just like a ton of water play in the clubhouse. They're just peeing on everything.
They brought in dog trainers. Like, no.
It's not so much that they're trying to disrespect us. They're just
Not potty trained.
They have a real problem.
Well, we are potty training our son. We can go potty train the Dodgers.
The thing is, I guess, you need to be able to like do 3 successive commands in a row. And I think that's where they mess up. They can do like those 2, but that third one they just can't do. So that, you know, going to a toilet, it just doesn't make any sense. They're just going all over the place. Take off their pants.
What?
There's no water, everything with Brondo.
Remember when this roundtable was just about Star Wars?
Those are more innocent times. Let's move back to that. Oh, God damn it. Let us. Yeah, why the hell not? Let's move back to Star Wars talk. Because I'm sure. Give each person here. Give me one quick thing you want to get off your chest about anything Star Wars related at all?
I don't really like Star Wars that much.
What?
What?
You
Well,
monster.
this is awkward.
It's only awkward if you make it awkward.
By saying something like, I don't really like
Don't
Star
say
Wars
that
that
again.
much.
Okay.
I never got into it as a child, so I don't have the whimsical need to,
Are
like...
you saying I'm childish?
I never got into it as a child, so, like, to me, it'd be like The Princess Bride. Like, I saw that when I was a little kid, and I have really good memories attached to it. So, if I didn't see that until I was, like, 24, I probably would be like, whatever. But the first time I saw it, I was 19 and babysitting for a kid who made me watch episode 4 18 times in 4 days.
I did not make you watch it 18 times.
Let's be fair. If it had been Tim, he wouldn't have stopped at 18.
Exactly.
No. Okay, let us tell you about the beginning of our relationship. When I was in the phase where I pretended that I had to like everything he liked, because that's what you do at the beginning of relationships, and anyone in here who says they don't is a liar. A big freaking liar. So I, the loving girlfriend of this dude for like 2 weeks, watched not only episode 4, 5, and 6 in consecutive nights, I watched a 3.5-hour documentary about freaking Star Wars.
Okay. How many Jason Mraz concerts have I gone to?
2.
Yeah.
That doesn't
And
make
they
up for
both-
anything.
They were both like 3 hours long and terrible.
You liked his first CD and don't lie about it.
I loved his first CD, but everything else has been poop from the butt, and he doesn't play anything off of his first CD.
He does 2.
Poop
Anyways,
from the butt.
3-hour documentary, including in one part where this one guy just randomly said, oh yeah, Han was supposed to die because someone had to go. Someone had to die. That was it. And they didn't kill Han, so then it was just like annoying and aggravating.
Did you have to watch the holiday special?
I watched that on purpose, but only with riff tracks.
That works.
I have that VOD, so yeah, it's a good
That's
watch.
the only good reason.
I suppose someday, maybe if Tim makes me watch it with the kids, I'll watch it, but I will resent him silently for the rest of my life.
That's what marriage is all about.
Mm-hmm. True love.
So moving from the obvious blasphemy that we're condoning here, what about either of you two guys?
What? Nobody wants my answer?
Either of you three guys.
I personally have always felt somewhat cheated because you ever have one of those things where the fan theories are so much better than the actual story?
Only
Think about
every
real time
day.
if you want to.
Because
Headcanon.
there was a fan theory shortly before Revenge of the Sith came out that Jar Jar was going to die in that movie. And the way that the apparent spoiler had been written, it was focused around Anakin killing Jar Jar, and Jar Jar basically serving as a representation of Anakin's youth and innocence, and it was that death that actually would have been the final thing that sent him over to the dark side, which I feel would have actually given, taken a character that was underdone by the first two movies and actually made his carefree attitude into something meaningful. But, of course, that would be beyond George Lucas's grasp. So that never happened. But I think in my mind that's the way it happened. And also, I really wish I could be an X-Wing pilot.
I think everyone would have just cheered if that Jar Jar thing happened.
It would have to have been a well-written and a well-shot scene to actually make it a shocking twist.
So
So-
it happened.
Maybe that
Yeah.
would have been an idea in the beginning, or even something he kicked around, but there's no way he was going to really substantively touch Jar Jar ever again when people bitched about it so much after the first movie.
Stupid fanboys.
Yeah. Because it's very obvious that George Lucas is very bitter about that. So even if he had kicked it around or someone suggested to him and he was like, yeah, that's a good idea, it was never going to happen simply because of the way that people reacted to the first movie. And in some ways, the choices that he made in the second and third movie is the bed that we have to lay on because of how much of a bitch fit people threw over the first movie.
I will say that hardcore fans of anything kind of ruin the thing a little bit because, well, like the best historical example, not that I was around for all this, but like, you know, the Beatles, like, oh, this person's dead, or, you know, this person's actually a pod person, or because yeah, that went on for a while where it's just like, really? Anyway, Joe.
For fans of the Diamondbacks.
Yeah.
Ruin it.
They want to fun away from us. My biggest demand for LucasArts is to make Knights of the Old Republic 3 and to remove the MMO from the canon.
It already is from the canon.
This
Also,
awesome. This awesome. MMO not awesome. Remove it. Give us Raven in a third game. Let Obsidian make it. Let them finish it. It'll be good.
Yeah, because in KOTOR 2, it was famously not finished by when they released it. But if they there has been for the PC version a mod that's
I have that.
Yeah, the extended mod. And it actually, because we play that, there's a lot of added scenes and stuff, and you think, why didn't they just take the extra 5 minutes or whatever, probably more than that. I only took one semester of a computer science course, so I don't know how these things work. But it's like, this doesn't seem like too much to add. It completes the story a little bit. Like,
what I read was that they were going to make the patch, but LucasArts said, no, we're not going to let you put that out, and it only came out unfinished because they wanted it out in time for Christmas that year.
Yeah, pretty much.
So, boo LucasArts.
well, yeah.
And they're dead now, so
Yeah.
joke's on them.
No. It is kind of sad because I was like,
Fighter too.
yeah.
There were a lot of LucasArts games I liked, but they also put out a lot of crap, and I don't know how many more Hoth levels I can play before I'm going to scream.
And now you get to the sensation of cutting open a real dead tauntaun and sleeping in it. So yeah. But like, you know, LucasArts made games like a lot of the point-and-click adventure games like Monkey Island or you know, Maniac Mansion series or stuff like that. And that was stuff I grew up with in the early '90s and sort of shaped my weird sense of humor, kind of.
I feel like LucasArts ran into a problem where two of the genres they really excelled in, adventure games, in addition to what you mentioned, Charlie, Grim Fandango is the one that came to mind for me, and flight sims are two of the genres that kind of died out around the turn of the millennium. Yeah,
adventure games, I mean, every once in a while one will kind of come out and vaguely resuscitate the genre, but yeah, by the time 2000 or so rolled around, it had already been dead for a while. And the shift was very much so in the RPG and shooters, especially first-person shooters, and then eventually third-person shooters. But flight sims, I think a big problem that they ran into there is that it's going to be a very limited but obsessive fan base, and you need an extra accessory to play it well. You can't put them on consoles, so you're only running after the PC crowd, and then you're asking them to get a joystick on top of it. So the obsessives will do it, but you know, the average person, are they going to want to spend another $40, $50 on a good joystick, one with, you know, an actual throttle and a hat and all the other things that you need to actually play the games well? And
I think the interesting thing also is that they did do, I mean, their their foray into first-person shooters, the Dark Forces games, were good, but were like all came out in the mid '90s, and then they fell out of that even as the game's style itself became more popular.
Yeah, they made more of them, but they just never were. They never reached the same level because, like that. The sequels like Jedi Outcast and Jedi Academy, they're okay, but
but those sort of shifted. They still have first-person shooter elements to it, but they more shifted to like third-person action games.
right, because there was no reason for you to not have a lightsaber at the beginning, and if you have a lightsaber, why would you ever use anything else? And it just really came down to other games came out that did first-person and third-person shooters so much better. Why, even though it has the Star Wars branding, why would you go out of your way to spend a lot of time with those games when you can get a much better experience playing, fill in the blank with whichever hot first-person shooter was at the time?
There was one they made that was pretty good on the Xbox and the computer. Republic Commando was pretty good, and they never made another one of those.
I never played that, but I've heard good things about it.
It's good.
Yeah.
It's short but fun.
Anyway, something that's not short but was still fun was the length of this episode, and I think we've come to a good stopping point. Yeah, thanks to everyone who showed up. I'll thank Emily again. She had to leave, but she's cool, and she has a cool Jay-Z poster. Yeah, thanks to Joe, Tim, Devin, Liz, wherever she is, because I can't see her right now.
Joe's cat. Thanks to Joe's cat.
Joe's cat, definitely. He was Joe's cat was the linchpin to this entire show. Without
She broke up that no-hitter a couple weeks ago.
yeah, and without Joe's cat, none of this would make sense. And I don't mean none of like this weird video podcast thing we do. I mean nothing in the universe, like at all. Like down would be up, that sort of thing. Anyway. That may be something to contemplate as you go to bed tonight. But for all of us, you have a good night, you have a good week, and catch you on the flip side.